Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name Nur Hafizah binti Rosli and I will explain about introduction.
Hi, my name is Patricia Betita Jashar and my matric number is 2020-893-858 and I will explain to you about impacts on COVID-19 on foreign sector in Malaysia.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nurul Adila binti Azizul. My matric card number is 2020-815G. I will explain about strategies to solve based on impact on COVID-19 on foreign sector in Malaysia.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Alizafira binti Ahmad Zuliani and I will explain about the conclusion from this report.
China identified a new coronavirus in late December 2019 that caused several respiratory diseases, including pneumonia. It was formerly known as novel coronavirus, and the World Health Organization, which is WHO, recommend the following terminology to describe the virus. Coronavirus disease is the name given to the disease caused by infection, which is COVID-19. COVID-19 has been classified as an airborne disease with the several consequences. The government testing, contact tracing, quarantine and treatment of the epidemic, while protecting first responders and providing accurate information, has received international praise. During flattening the curve, daily infection rate, fatalities and recovery identified hotspots. On 18 March, the government issued an MCO until 12 May 2020. The MCO orders stay at home, ban cruise state travel and close all the company except for essential service and natural resources sector. 24 May 2020, Conditional Movement Control Order, which is CMCO, decision to greatly ease control has raised concern. This decision may spread infection. Lockdown is killing the economy. The economy is falling, hurting employment, income and variety of livelihood, disrupting supply chains and businesses, and worsening inequalities, poverty and hardship, especially for the most vulnerable. First phase received the COVID-19 vaccine on 24 February 2020. Subsequently, vaccination for senior citizens aged 70 and older began island-wide in April 2020. On 20 February 2020, Malaysia could register for COVID-19 vaccination. Local aged 18 and older who have the Sinovac vaccination must receive their third dose by March 2022 or lost their fully vaccination status on the MySejahtera application on 1 April 2022 when the disease entered the epidemic phase.
And I will explain to you about impacts on COVID-19 on foreign sector in Malaysia. The first impact will be deflation trade of timber and timber product. Trade is a voluntary exchange of product or service between economic players. Trade benefits both parties since it's voluntary. Trading is buying and selling securities or other assets in finance. Many companies have invested in Malaysia and create industry due to worldwide commerce. It boosts economic growth and creates employment. For example, a foreign corporation wants to invest in Malaysia's electric sector. Now, over the past 2 decades, Malaysia's wood industry has become one of the country's main sources of revenue. According to the Forestry Department of Peninsular Malaysia, the Sabah Forestry Department, and the Sarawak Timber Industry Development Corporation, log supply declined 55% in 2020 to 4.8 million cubic meters, but recovered 86% in 2021 to 8.9 billion cubic feet. Lumber, a non-essential sector under MCO, is badly damaged by the epidemic. Lumber trade may stall during epidemic for many reasons, such as: first is shortage of workforce. MCO restriction also contributed to labor shortage. These limits prevent us from optimizing our personnel. Enforcement and monitoring were minimal for a long period. So the MCO rules also stress social distance and require industrial facilities to operate at a lesser capacity. This caused a shortage of raw materials and lowered output, which immediately lowered the lumber and wood firms' early turnover, and eventually early turnover immediately dropped. Second is cost of timber products have been on the rise. Lumber costs have been increasing, which is particularly troublesome given the epidemic. This is problematic since it relies on demand and supplies from countries that it might be customers and competitors. Malaysia and other wood producers must compete with other nations that offer timber at lower rates and general high value goods to thrive in the global market. For example, some of the largest corporations in the wood industry have reported that domestic sales have decreased by 30 and 50% as a result of the current economic climate. Second impact is a foreign direct investment. FDI is when a foreign investor, business, or even a government buys a stake in a foreign company or project. In order to expand into a new region, a corporation may invest extensively in or even buy a foreign company. FDI flows in Malaysia increased to 3.17 ringgit billion in 2019 as roughly equivalent to 30.7 ringgit billion in the previous year. This represents an increase of 3.1% and is primarily attributable to an increase in equity injection from Japan, specifically in health activity sector. As of the end of December 2019, FDI reached 69.1 ringgit billion, representing a significant increase. According to a statement issued by the Chief Statistician of Malaysia, Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin, which was published in the Age Market articles, the promising performance in FDI have proven that the favorable economic condition in the nation that entices foreign firms to continue investing, and similarly for the local companies to develop and diversify their operation overseas. In 2020, foreign direct investment (FDI) in Malaysia plummeted 54.8%, while investment income fell to 54.6 ringgit billion from 60.5 ringgit billion. And manufacturing and service drove the economy in 2020, while Singapore, the US, and Hong Kong investors earned the most. The last impact will be currency value weakens. The value of currency is determined by the aggregate supply and demand for that currency. A multitude of variables including interest rates, inflation, capital movement, and money supply may have an effect on supply and demand. So the most frequent way to determine the worth of money is via the process of exchange. So the value of one currency in relation to another currency is referred to as the bilateral exchange rate. Since the US dollar, USD, is the currency that is exchanged the most often throughout the world, it is the standard against which bilateral exchange rates are quoted. According to an article published by the Age Market, it has been claimed that on Thursday, May 19, the Malaysian ringgit dropped beyond 4.4 against the US dollar for the first time since the beginning of the COVID-19 epidemic in March 2020. This occurred after a Malaysian ringgit depreciated to its lowest position so far on Thursday at 4.4078 against a stronger US dollar, amid expectation of US interest rate rises to combat inflation. Investors will also weighing the potential economic effect of the COVID-19 outbreak at the same time as the Russia-Saudi Arabia crude oil price war lead to fears about the extreme supply of the commodity. This mood rocked international equities and crude oil markets, and it was felt throughout the globe.
I will explain the three strategies to solve this, which is the strategy 1 is improving the timber industry by introducing to the others. One way to improve the timber industry and the country's economy is to raise the availability of human capital. This can be done by building up human capital and increasing productivity by expanding skill training programs in a planned way, in order to improve the quality of training programs for local workers and help them get better at their jobs. Also, put your attention on marketing and business expansions, things like the MTIB, metric, and MTC industry will be able to do better commercial value of wood and wood products, which will lead to a rise in the number of goods exported each year. To make this development happen, one thing that can be done is to talk to and to work with a Malaysian GLC company to provide wood for building projects in other countries. This is an example of something that can be done. Next, we need to figure out how to make this timber industry better by increasing the supply of raw materials to meet the needs of the timber industry. For example, we could keep increasing the supply of raw materials to meet the needs of the timber industry by working together and giving small farm incentives to plant rubber trees. Next, how to improve this wood industry by getting more raw materials to meet the needs of the wood industry. Also, able to give land bank information about plants that are good for planting. Lastly, we will to hire more Bumiputra people to work in forestry business. This can be done by increasing the number of Bumiputra business that take part in business missions, exhibitions, and promotion, as well as the amount of sales that came from their participation. It could also run a supplier development and marketing campaign, which will help it to take an even bigger share of the market. This can be done by running an integrated marketing program with the right agency or by running a mentoring program for people who are just starting to export. The second strategy is to encourage foreign investment by entice foreign investors to come and invest in our country. This is because the incentive plan is one of the things that are meant to attract investment from outside the country. The government should change the rules so that foreign investors can have a bigger stake up to 100% in a project. The government may also send business delegations to other countries to try get investors from there. Since the COVID-19 crisis, a lot of investors have pulled their money out of the market. This has caused the price ringgit to go down. This group is in charge of telling those people that Malaysia is a good place to invest, either through meetings, gatherings, or news stories. All kinds of information can also be spread through the office of the Malaysia Industrial Development Board. Last but not least, political stability. This is because other investors will be less likely to trust and be interested in the country if its government was unstable and it went through a series of crises. In the end, the Malaysia government's effort to make the country a good place for foreign investment and to make sure that foreign investment is safe will continue to make the country more appealing to investors from other countries. And the last strategy is increase the value of currency. The value of a currency with a low value can be increased by first establishing a 0% GST rate. The world economy, as we know, it now is in a state of instability. For example, how the economy of the United States of America is the only place where people buy things. Our ability to trade with other countries is not all that great. It is even possible. Malaysia needs to quickly get out of its current economic crisis in order to avoid more economic damage. This can be done by making sure there is enough domestic consumption at a lower level. Furthermore, boosting currency value is to stop expanding the workforce with getting rid of low-skilled foreign workers, and increasing the use of machinery and automobile equipment are two key steps in achieving structural improvement in the Malaysia economy, which will allow for higher wages and better training for Malaysia workers. And lastly, boost the value of the currency. Products from a country with a low inflation will be more popular and in higher demand than those from competitors. Most of the time, the value of currency goes up over time as inflation rates go down. To stop inflation, the government or the central bank can put in place stricter fiscal, monetary, and supply policies.
In conclusion, it has been made evidently clear that the foreign sector in our country is being adversely affected in a very serious manner as a result of the sharp drop in foreign direct investment, which is an important source of income for many developing countries. The outlook for the months to come is uncertain. Next, as was previously mentioned, the effect of COVID-19 on the Malaysian foreign sector include a deflation in the trade of timber and timber product, a decline in foreign direct investment, and a decrease in the value of the currency. All of these effects have countermeasures that can be taken to get around their problem. The introduction of others to the timber industry, encouragement of investment from overseas, and an increase in the value of the currency are some of the strategies. This demonstrates that the economy of our country foreign sector can be helped to become more stable so that it can contribute to the growth of our economy.